Hi everybody, welcome to the Student Learning Support Service. My name is Lauren and today we're talking about group work management. So hopefully you've already watched the introduction to group work, which talked about why group work is so important, some of the skills that you will learn and some of the most important traits of effective teams. So this time we're going to zoom in a little bit closer and look at how we manage a project and manage a team. So let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about how we work effectively as a team. So we're going to talk about project planning, assigning team roles, monitoring progress, and what to do if things go wrong. Okay, so let's start. You've all got together for the first time as your team, and this is where you're going to do some really important work in terms of setting out how you're going to work together and how you're going to manage this project. So the first thing that you're going to discuss in this meeting is communication. As I said previously, communication is the most important aspect of teamwork. So firstly, it is important to make a decision about how you will communicate. And this might mean, by regular meetings, maybe you're going to set those up, schedule those in your diary or your calendar. It might mean agreeing that you're going to communicate mostly by email or some other kind of reliable messaging service. It might mean deciding on a particular kind of project management software, something like Teams or Outlook or Google Docs. And I would also, just as a word of warning, do consider social media use carefully. This can work for some teams, but not everybody has the same access to social media and not everybody uses it in the same way. So just be really kind of thoughtful about whichever platform you choose. At this stage of the process, just spend a little bit of time getting to know each other. Check in with each other's strengths, weaknesses, your own goals for the project. What does each of you want to get out of this? What are you aiming for in terms of your success? And make sure that everybody kind of knows that you're all roughly on the same page and that you can agree to some basic principles moving forward. Because then you're going to discuss your project planning, and this involves understanding your assignment expectations, creating a timeline, assigning the team roles and responsibilities, and deciding on the rules for engagement. And all of these things are kind of related to this bigger overall issue of communication. But first, setting out the expectations of the assignment. So what is the overall aim of this project you're working on? What are the different components of the assignment that need doing? So break this down into different steps that each of you will need to do to cover before you get to that kind of final full draft. So for example, together you might need to do some brainstorming. You might need to create a project outline. You might assign particular people to do some research, assign some other people to do some writing, or decide on how you're going to manage that all together. And then use this to create a timeline. Really importantly here, don't just use the assignment due date as your deadline. So include times for meetings, or just digital check-ins. Create deadlines for your overview or for the outline of the project, or deadlines for drafts of each person's contribution. And remember to give your team space for things to go wrong, because they probably will. Most of us do have good intentions when we start out in a group, but things happen. Somebody gets sick, or somebody suddenly has to leave a meeting to pick up their kid from school, or somebody has a technology failure. So plan in the space to deal with these fallouts. If you expect them, you'll have the flexibility to figure out what to do when they happen. So then once you know what kind of work you need to do, how much work you need to do, try to assign this work to specific people in the group. Giving each member of the team some content work to do. Remembering to distribute the work evenly and to consider different people's strengths. And then, as well as assigning content to each team member, you also want to assign particular team roles. And these might include assigning a facilitator, somebody who is good at organization, somebody who can book rooms, or set up your Teams or Google account. A note taker, somebody who can take minutes at meetings and share those with the rest of the team in a timely and organized manner. A timekeeper, so somebody who keeps everybody on task, both at meetings, but also is keeping track of those deadlines that you've set for yourselves. And at each meeting, consider assigning a chair or a leader, and make sure that you swap this role, in each meeting that you have. Importantly, try as much as you can to make things democratic and participatory. Everybody should be heard and consulted. Because really, equal participation is fundamentally about respect. Creating a rapport with your team members, getting to know each other, developing an awareness of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and just generally what's going on in everybody's lives will help you build that rapport. If you spend time on this, you're going to be more comfortable communicating openly and honestly with each other. And, as I said, open and honest communication is fundamental to good teamwork. You need to be able to trust each other and let each other know if you're struggling or falling behind, or if you think that somebody isn't pulling their weight. So be really specific about each team member's role and expectations and document it. If everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do, you're going to give yourself much more control over the situation. And look, this doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will fulfill their roles properly. But what it does mean is that you can mitigate some of the issues that arise out of misunderstandings or assumptions. I thought Susan was supposed to book the study room, or Gary was going to bring the muffins. It also means that you've got documentation that you can use to keep your team members accountable if they do drop the ball. And for this reason too, it's also a good idea at this stage in the process to set out some rules for engagement. So for example, the rule that every member of the team has the right to speak and suggest ideas, or that decisions will be voted on and passed by majority, that minutes will be distributed, very quickly to the rest of the team, or the team members must inform the rest of the team in a very timely manner if they're experiencing difficulties. If there's any reason you don't think you're going to get your part of the work done on time, that you tell everybody else. And of course, that attendance records at meetings will be kept. So now that you've done all of this work, setting up your team, getting it running smoothly, you need to decide how you will keep track of your progress. And to do this properly, use a system. Don't just rely on everyone keeping their own notes or diary entries about due dates and role delegations. If you use a proper system, there are plenty of them around now. I would suggest something like Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Outlook, Google Docs, Trello is a great one. You will keep on top of these problems. We've learnt from COVID that we can use this kind of software really to our advantage. And plus, if you document your progress, your timelines, your plans, your deadlines, and your team roles, it also means that you have something solid to use to keep your team members accountable if they don't submit on time, or worst case scenario, to support any case you might need to make to your topic coordinator should things really go wrong, but hopefully they won't. But, sometimes things do go wrong. I really hope it won't come to this, but conflict management is one of those important skills that we're learning in a team, and managing these problems can be difficult. So how do we do it? Firstly, try to check in with that team member and really find out what's going on. There might be an extra stress in their life that's causing them to get behind. And if you can get on top of this early, make them feel that it's okay to talk to the rest of the team about it, sometimes you can overcome these issues as soon as they arise. Also, remind them of the duties and responsibilities that they've agreed to. Make sure that they know how their work is contributing to this project. Why is it valued and why is it important? But if no resolution can be found, do raise the issue with your tutor or topic coordinator. But before you do, make sure you've made an effort to attempt to resolve the situation before first. Demonstrate to your tutor that you've made an effort. Remember that team management is part of what you're being assessed on in many cases, and your efforts to resolve this problem are an important part of the process, and in many cases will reflect really well on you if you take this conflict management really seriously. Otherwise, that's all for this video on project management and team management. Hopefully you've got some good tips for how to manage your team successfully next time you've got some group work. That's all from me. I will see you next time.